There may be an angel in your house right now, and you might not even realize it. Not because you do not believe in angels, not because God has stopped sending them, but because most people have never been taught how to recognize the signs. When people imagine angels, they usually picture dramatic scenes, blinding light filling the room, wings stretching across the sky, thunder shaking the air while a heavenly messenger speaks. But that image does not match what we actually see in the Bible. In Scripture, angels often appear quietly. They step into ordinary situations and interact with people who are simply living their daily lives. Genesis chapter 18 tells the story of Abraham sitting outside his tent in the heat of the day when 3 visitors approached him. Abraham welcomed them like any traveler passing through. He brought water for their feet. He prepared a meal. They sat together and ate. Only later did Abraham realize that the visitors were not ordinary men. Heaven had entered his home. Hebrews 13:2 even warns believers about this possibility. It says that some people have entertained angels without knowing it. That phrase is important. Without knowing it. This means angelic encounters are not always dramatic or obvious. They can happen in moments that appear completely ordinary. The Bible describes angels as ministering spirits sent by God to serve those who will inherit salvation. Their mission is not random. They are sent with purpose. They protect. They guide. They strengthen. They deliver messages when God chooses to speak. But here is something many people overlook. Angels rarely announce themselves. They carry out their assignment quietly and leave without drawing attention to themselves. Because of that, many believers dismiss moments of divine help as coincidence. A sudden warning that saves you from danger. A deep peace that appears when you are overwhelmed. A message from a stranger that arrives at exactly the right moment. Scripture suggests these moments may not always be random. They may be signs that heaven is closer than we realize. Today we are going to look at several hidden signs that angels may be active in your home or around your life right now. These signs are not based on superstition or imagination. They come from patterns that appear repeatedly throughout the Bible. Once you begin to understand these patterns, you may start noticing things you previously ignored. Because the truth is simple. God has not stopped sending help from heaven, and you may be far less alone than you think. Sign 1. Unusual night awakenings. One of the most common moments when God gets someone's attention in the Bible happens during the night. You fall asleep normally, nothing feels unusual. But suddenly you wake up. 2 in the morning. 3 in the morning. There is no alarm. No noise. No obvious reason. Yet your eyes are open and your mind feels strangely alert. Many people experience this and immediately assume it means nothing. They roll over and go back to sleep. But Scripture shows that night awakenings were often moments when God or his angels were trying to reach someone. In 1 Kings chapter 19, the prophet Elijah collapsed from exhaustion in the wilderness. As he slept under a tree, an angel came and touched him. The angel woke him up and told him to rise and eat. This was not a dream. It was a real encounter. Nighttime often becomes a moment when heaven speaks because the distractions of the day disappear. When the world becomes quiet, the human heart becomes more attentive. Many believers report waking suddenly with a strong urge to pray. Others feel an unexplained sense that they should spend time with God. Instead of immediately going back to sleep, consider pausing for a moment. Pray. Ask God if he is drawing your attention. Because sometimes those quiet moments in the night are not random interruptions. Sometimes they are invitations. Sign 2. Unexplainable peace. Another pattern connected to angelic presence in Scripture is the sudden arrival of peace during moments of fear. Life often fills our minds with anxiety. Bills pile up. Relationships become complicated. The future feels uncertain. During moments like this, the mind begins racing with worry. Then suddenly something shifts, without any visible reason. A deep calm settles over your heart. Nothing around you has changed. But inside, the storm becomes quiet. The Bible describes this experience in Philippians chapter 4 as the peace of God that surpasses understanding. This peace does not come from solving the problem. It comes from God's presence. Throughout Scripture, angels often appear, carrying that presence. When the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary, the first words spoken were simple. Do not be afraid. Peace came before explanation. That pattern repeats again and again. Angels carry messages from God, but they also carry the atmosphere of His presence. And when God's presence arrives, fear begins to lose its power. Not every peaceful moment is caused by angels. But Scripture clearly shows that when heaven moves close, peace often follows. Sometimes the most powerful spiritual moments are not loud or dramatic. Sometimes they are quiet waves of calm that remind you that God is still near. Sign 3. Unexplainable protection. Perhaps the most direct role angels play in Scripture is protection. Psalm 91 says that God commands His angels concerning His people to guard them in all their ways. That protection sometimes appears through moments that feel like near accidents. A car stops suddenly before impact. You feel an urge to change your route and later discover something dangerous happened along the original path. You miss a flight or delay a trip that later proves to be dangerous. At the time, these moments feel like coincidence. But the Bible describes angels as protectors assigned to God's people. In the book of Acts, an angel opened the prison doors for Peter and led him safely out into the night. In the book of Daniel, an angel shut the mouths of lions. These stories remind believers that God often protects His people in ways they cannot see. Many people look back on close calls and say they were lucky. Scripture invites a different explanation. Sometimes what we call luck may actually be protection sent from heaven. Conclusion. The Bible makes something very clear about angels. They are real. They are active. And they are sent by God to serve those who belong to Him. They are not meant to replace our relationship with God. They are not meant to be worshipped or glorified. Their purpose is to carry out God's will. But their presence reminds us of something important. Heaven is not distant. God is not silent. And His help often arrives in ways we do not expect. A sudden moment of peace. A warning that prevents danger. A quiet awakening in the middle of the night. Many believers have experienced these things without ever realizing that God may have been working behind the scenes. Angels are not fairy tales. They are part of the unseen reality described throughout Scripture. And if you belong to Christ, heaven is already moving on your behalf. You may not always see it. You may not always understand it. But you are never walking through life alone. God sees every moment. God hears every prayer. And sometimes, without announcing it, He sends help from heaven itself.